Okay, something that we have learned in our journalism classes is that Convergence has changed the way a story gets broken, mainly through the internet, blogs, social media, but sometimes through the public. Um, this kind of means that the journalists must work harder on the content of their articles to compete with them. How do you deal with the competition from news from the public?
For my staff at National Football Authority, we love Twitter. Twitter is news, really. There is no way around it. You know, if you want the breaking story the moment it happens, you need to be following people on Twitter. With that being said, tweets with breaking news hit social media first, but there's no article. When the article posts, what we usually try to do is we'll first have a standard news piece, which is like 150 words with just straight facts about the news. But then we'll also look for an angle within that breaking news in order to, stay on top of the game against our competitors at, I guess you could say Fox 8 could be somewhat of a competitor since they have sports news, and the Plain Dealer in Cleveland.com. But I feel that we're all part of the same group, though. But finding that angle, that certain angle, why did so-and-so, commit a crime? Why didn't so-and-so get arrested? How does that affect the team? How does that affect the fan base? Finding that certain angle in order to catch readers' eyes, to draw them into the site, whether it's via social media or just them going to the site and seeing the headline and wanting to click on it. That's one of the ways we try to stay ahead of the game in our competition, because the plain dealer could break a story, but while they're writing that story, we might just, instead of writing the news story itself as well, since they're already in the process of doing it, we might just look at that angle first, and then after we have that unique angle to get that out there before anyone else, then we'll go back and actually write up the quick news story. So it's always an evolving concept. You have to be very, very flexible in this business, though, in order to work with all the different facets of the way that news breaks nowadays.
I would say that the advent of the web and social media really has forced a greater sense of urgency and hustle in beat reporters, and this is particularly true in sports. The Browns, for example, don't need the plain dealer to announce who they signed as a starting quarterback, because they can do that on their own Twitter account or on their own web page. And so I think sports reporters in general have found that somewhat frustrating. I think the benefit, though, is that we bring the expertise, the knowledge, the depth, the deeper understanding about decisions that are made and why they're made and how they're made and what the implications of those decisions are. So I still think that there is value in what we bring, but I certainly think in terms of the sort of headline of the moment, it's an equal playing field. I would argue that the legacy media companies probably, due to the sort of respect and credibility that they have in the community, probably have a larger audience. So we get about 1.7 million page views per day. And so we know there's an audience that's going to be looking to us to provide that information. So even if Yahoo Sports tweets something about a Cleveland sports development before we get to it, we don't think that diminishes our audience. But certainly, I think that the social media has, elevated the level of stress that many of our reporters are under, because oftentimes people who are tweeting for websites or Twitter pages or social media, they can put those couple headlines out there and they're done for the day. Our people still have to come back and write the 3 or 4 stories that accompany the one headline or one paragraph that they were able to tweet about. And so I also think that in the way that the industry has evolved, you have to be facile at doing more than one thing. You've got to be able to write the short story for right now, the longer story for tomorrow, and something that has a whole lot more depth for Sunday, and to be able to juggle all those balls at the same time, even as you know that there's a website standing right behind you waiting to beat you at the job that you've been doing for a number of years. So it's an interesting dynamic.
I find myself writing articles in like 10 minutes now because of exactly what you're saying.
And there's a trade-off when you write in 10 minutes. I mean, it may not necessarily be as thoughtful as if you took 2 days. It might be, but oftentimes there's something lost in turning information around quickly. And then the other challenge, particularly with Twitter, is that there's often information that's wrong. And once it gets out there in the Twitter universe, it's hard to pull it back. And I can give an example. A paper in Arizona tweeted that Gabby Giffords had actually passed away during the shooting, even though the Associated Press in the Arizona Republic kept saying that's not true, it didn't happen. But once that information got out there, it took hours to really sort of rein it in and get the true story out there. And so that's another trade-off that comes with the immediacy.
Kind of along those same lines, too, I think, and Deborah alluded to it, we still are a pretty big organization, even with all the cutbacks and layoffs. And I think, you know, we can put things in context. I mean, information flows constantly, but I think it is our, you know, it's our job, and I think we can do that. We're in a better position to do that than most organizations, sometimes through sheer numbers still, that to put things in context and to give those headlines meaning beyond just that 24-hour news cycle, I think. So I think that's, I mean, the way I look at it, that's still our role. I think early on, I think our philosophy was publish to the web and kind of following the newspaper, and following the newspaper in a way that, you know, expands and gives more expertise and context to what the headline was initially.
Yeah, I'm pretty much along the same lines. What I've noticed in our newsroom is there's a big emphasis, there always has been a big emphasis, but now with the immediacy of Twitter and Facebook and the web, when something comes out, there's a huge emphasis on confirming the details. Confirm. Something just because it came out quickly doesn't mean necessarily it's correct. So we see that a lot in our newsroom now. Okay, we got this out. This is what they're saying. Let's find out if it's true. Another interesting aspect that I've noticed is that now official outlets are using Twitter for their press releases. If there's a shooting and it happened at noon, well, it happened at 9 a.m., the PIO, which is the Public Information Officer, on his official PIO Twitter page, he said, I will tweet you guys the number, you know, who died, injuries, where they're at, instead of waiting to hold a press conference or fax it or update their website. So, and slowly but surely you're seeing different governmental agencies use social media as an official updating resource for us, which, you know, wouldn't have happened in years past. So those are the two very interesting and dynamic changes I've seen in our newsroom.
I just want to say one thing. So when I graduated from college 25 years ago, you just had to call and hope the public information officer wasn't at lunch or wasn't in a bad mood that day, or, you know, wasn't mad at you that day. And so the process of gathering, the wheels of justice turned a lot more slowly. So one of the benefits, quite frankly, is being able to have access to information in short order. I mean, that really has been a benefit. And so if, for example, the newspaper can find out names of victims, just to use crime as an example, we can get out in that community and identify people who we can talk to with a lot more lead time than we might have been able to back in the old days.
Our philosophy is, it's funny, tweet it, post it, face it, and basically that's Twitter first, post it on the website second, and then post it on Facebook so people can interact. As important as it is to get an interaction with listeners and people viewing our websites, the biggest thing is, first of all, getting it on the air, but then also tweeting it, putting it on the webpage first, and then letting people react to it. The interaction is huge, it's paramount, but it's also our duty to give the news. To go off Dan's point of angles, that's the most important, because I think at WTAM, we realize we might be first in on-air content, but when it comes to internet, we're definitely not going to be at the state of Cleveland.com or even on Fox 8. We might be behind that, but if we provide a different type of angle to the story, it might make people more interested to come to our page. Even if they do go to those pages first, the fact that they say, all right, let's get a different angle on this story, let's see what the facts were, let's see what someone said. If we can provide that, that kind of puts us a leg up, even if we aren't breaking it first on our website. If we can provide a different type of angle, that's good enough, so.
Yeah, I'd just like to add one thing, because what it really amounts to is immediacy for us. And I think one of the big challenges, at least from the photo staff point of view, we have an excellent photo staff. I mean, they're highly skilled. They're all really experienced. I think one of the big challenges for us is when there's some breaking news, is to get a picture back quickly and not diminish the quality of our photo report for the paper or subsequently as the story progresses. So what we did was to do this is we gave each of our photographers a BlackBerry. And so if they go on a spot news, and we're competing with TV, who is set up to go live or whatever, to be very immediate, we say, take a picture with your BlackBerry and just email it to us. And then continue to work the story with the higher end gear. Because I think that is our big challenge, is to how to balance both those things. There's immediacy as well as we really don't want to diminish the quality of what our photographers do. And so that's a big challenge, and that's kind of one way we've adapted.
Interestingly enough, we did the same thing with our reporters now. They gave our reporters phones, so when they get there, they can snap pictures, send them in for the internet, and they also got phones with the capability for them to Skype reports. So it's not even immediate enough to go get it and come back or do a phone interview. Now we have phones so we can Skype, okay, I'm here, da-da-da. You can go to our website and we can do real time. So yeah, you're right, the technology has made it, it's a beast that never gets fed. So now it's not even to be live 2 hours after it happened or an hour after it happened isn't even immediate enough now. Now they have the ability to, the second they get there, they can Skype it live for our website. So it's very interesting, and that wouldn't have, a year ago, not even heard of, not even an option. And now they're buying phones specifically to address that issue because of the immediacy. It's very interesting.
So in 2008, was 2008 the year the Ohio State made it to the big game?
When the one in New Orleans? The last one in New Orleans?
No, it wasn't the most recent one. I think it was 2008. And the Plain Dealer decided that we were going to create a Twitter page specifically for this Ohio State game. And 7 people came to the site. And the person whose idea it was had come to the newspaper from Northern California. And the Twitter was a huge phenomenon at that time in Northern California, and really hadn't made its way across the country. And he was trying to convince everyone that this was going to be the next big thing. And so it really is interesting to see how over the past 3 years things really have evolved.